was just asking her, how did you do that? What did you do? And so Queen reached out and offered to do a live for you guys, which I thought was amazing. So I'm always impressed by other women that they're interested in helping other women come up. And I believe that we should all try to come together and do what we need to do to succeed and unselfishly, And so that's how I am. Anything that I know, I'm going to share it with you guys. And I look forward to building a strong community of women that can come together without competition, but collaboration to build real wealth. So tonight I have the pleasure of doing our first go live with Queen Roxanna in the group, and I'm going to let her guys come in and kind of give us a little bit about her story, how she got started in real estate, and then also how she went about acquiring this block. Okay, so I know you guys want that, so she's going to share some things with you. So Queen Roxanna, if you can come in and just let us know how you got started, a little bit about yourself, and we can kind of go from there.
No problem. First, thank you so much for having the vision to come up with this awesome group, because it takes someone to have an ideal at first, and then it turns to a vision, then it becomes to a reality, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for reacting on your decision on creating this awesome group, because things like this, it create magic, and we are able to move mountains when we come together. So thank you so much for doing this, because we'll be able to help each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this world is all about, is being able to get to the next level, because we're not born in this world with everything. And that's something that I'm very big on, is for everyone to be who they are and be true to themselves and find themselves. And at the same time, never judge anyone or feel like it's a right and a wrong. It's all about understanding. So I'm real big on that. My name is Roxanna Wilson. I'm 33 years old. Since an early age, I seen myself interested in real estate. I didn't know jack squat about real estate. I always been the individual that always wanted to own. My dad used to tell me all the time as a child, I used to hustle him. So I used to go to the store, wait after Halloween, and wait for the store to change the candy for it to be about 10 cents. And I was the one that used to go to school the next day and sell to everybody else about 25 cents after buying the whole pack for about 10 cents. So I always just had a different business mind when it comes to my family. I don't come from a family that always had everything or had that mentality. I come from a small town called Kinston, where there is small resources there. However, very homey, very family oriented, and so on and so on. I'm not your typical 9-to-5 girl. However, I did do that. My previous life, I was a full-time model and actress while still running two, in one time, even 3 full-time business all at the same time. So it takes a lot of sacrificing, and it takes a lot of researching, and it definitely takes a lot of confidence to be able to react on these type of things, especially doing it from scratch. Because remind you, I just shared with you, I come from a small town with little resources. So all the things that I have, it wasn't given to me. It was more so of me having an idea, such as what you may had when wanting to start this group. Let me turn my ringer off. And then I just actually acted on it, start researching. So at the age of 20, I told you guys that I was into modeling. So I knew I had to hire like a CPA. At this time, this one was Wesley Snipes, and all of them was getting locked up talking about they weren't paying taxes. I'm like, how y'all make all that money? Y'all ain't paying taxes.
Right.
So they was talking to us about when you have a manager, you got to pay them 20%, right? So it was more so like, well, and it was more so they were saying that their accountant wasn't submitting their information, and it wasn't that the celebrities wasn't paying their taxes. It's just that either A, they didn't submit it, or B, they didn't calculate it correctly, or 3, they were stealing it. Oh. So I said that I need to know how to check behind my accountant, right? CPA, however you decide to get ready to do your income tax stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So I started actually taking courses on understanding accounting, which led me to get my associate degree into business and accounting. And I started just wanting to know it for myself, which allowed me to help my close family and friends, which it was a hobby at the time. But a lot of people was just blown away how easy I was able to communicate with them on the importance of different tax strategies on how it can benefit them.
Mhm.
And from there, I seen some people was like 40 and 50 years old, and they was working at the job for like 10 or 12 years. And I'm like, they don't make that much money. They're making like $25,000. They married with some kids, and I'm like, what can I do different now? I can stay on a 9 to 5 job. I can try to go to school because, right, that's what we taught.
That's right.
Or I can try to, find my way in this industry, trying to be a model, successful model, and an actress. But what's really going on with money, right? So I was always an individual that was willing to learn, and it caught my attention. So at an early age, I knew I had to make a fast decision. I knew a 9 to 5 wasn't going to cut it. So I started my business, which really at the time wasn't a busy business; it was a hobby.
Mm.
So you know how it is, your business spread from word of mouth. And that's how it was. It started off where I was just helping out. Next thing I know, I had clients because then it turned to a business. And then I had money to invest. So I paid my first house that I bought, I was 21 years old. And
Wow.
I was a homeowner. That's what led me to understanding credit because I won't talk jack squat about that either. And then after that, I then started getting into rental properties because I was like, if I have $10,000 and I spend $10,000, I'm gonna have zero. What do I need to do to get to the level where I don't have to depend on? And then another thing, we all been there. We got a 9 to 5. They come to us, they either lay us off or either they just fire us for whatever reason, right?
Mhm.
So I knew I had to make a decision on need to understand the wealth, need to understand money, need to understand how some people can get ahead of life and then some of us don't, right? So every year I started investing, whether if it was expanding my business or whether if it was investing into real estate. And I invested in my first real estate property being very naive. I didn't know jack squat. I didn't even have the original true contract where it should have been. And I actually still have that contract. And I look at it right now today, looking at the verbiage and stuff. I say, that's crazy. Glad that it worked out good. But however, I took faith. I took the leap and I knew that it had to be something that was in me that led me to it. And I bought my first property with cash, and I from then I bought another property, and then I bought another property. But I'm like, it got to be something that I'm doing wrong, or it's not so much. I'm not going to say that I'm doing wrong. It got to because I was working hard. I just told y'all guys I was working a 9 to 5. My previous life, I still was doing modeling and acting. So mind you, I'm traveling all over the place and still running a business. So I'm working pretty much 24 hours around the clock, right? And still trying to automate my business. But I'm like, why I'm not rich now? So it's all about understanding how to take back your time where they say you got to not know how to make your money, you got to know how to keep it too. And that's how the
That's
rich
it.
stay rich.
Right.
So I said, there got to be something that I'm missing. Around this time, I'm like, what, 27, 28, and I'm like, I don't want to keep investing in real estate because in the reality of it is it's doing good, but I mean, what they're gonna do? Keep putting my credit score? I'm gonna have to keep taking in loans, and I'm a big person that I don't believe in debt, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna be getting in debt if I continue on buying these houses. Now, mind you, I pay cash for these houses that I'm saying that I own, and it was for my own personal reasons why I bought them, tax advantage, parent, whatever the case, whatever I want to do with the property that was mine, right? So at an early age, I own different properties, and then God led me to still wanting more. So fast forward to I then you know how that you have that big announcement saying, hey, are you interested in real estate? Come and we'll show you how you can invest in real estate. And we're gonna tell you how we're gonna also give you funding. So I went to this seminar they was trying to check your credit, and then they was telling you that you had to pay like $20,000, and they was getting people approved on these business lines, right? I just completely walked out because I'm like, wait a minute, I got to know something they don't know, because I know how I pay cash. I'm not getting myself in debt. And then too, I really didn't have the money then to invest in that program that they wanted it. But then it fast forward 2 years down the line, I wind up getting a letter from what's his name from Shark Tank. Um,
Was it Damon John?
Damon Johns. So I went to this event, and mind you, at my events, I always have hidden agendas. Mind you, in order to get to the next level, you got to be around other like minds. So I already know they're going to try to sell you on something, but they always other people in the rooms. So mind you, I got a tax business. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure people going to need their business taxes done, so I can pass out my business card if this event is not what I think it needs to be. So when I got there, they were saying that how they can help your business on what you have. And at the time, I was owning a tax business and a credit repair business. I think I owned also a car lot,
Wow.
and also an online clothing boutique at the time. So I'm like, something got to give. I done told you guys I was burnt out. Now I had all these business, but my bank account really wasn't showing it. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't struggling, but as hard as I worked and I was giving out, it still wasn't showing. I wasn't be able to reap the seed that I done sowed. You know, I'm sowing now. I'm like, what's going on? So fast forward to, they also had a speaker there to where they said, well, listen, we'll do a promotion where if you ever thought about you wanting to invest into real estate, um we with Dub Hopkins will join it together, and we'll teach you guys how to join it. And then after you leave this seminar, I'm gonna teach you how to invest into real estate without using being able to send to use a cash buyer. And I'm like, they caught my interest. I'm like, I always wanted to do real estate because around me, they didn't have any courses when and I'm like, only thing that you can do is take the class to be an agent. I didn't want to be an agent. I mind you guys, I skipped the part. I did take the class to be an agent. When I took the class, I realized that's not what I wanted, or neither it's not required for what I really wanted to do. So I was like, I do know that I'm connected to real estate. I just need to know what. Where did fast forward to? I wind up going to an event and wind up paying $43,000 when it's all
Wow.
said and done in 3 days.
Wow.
However, that is the best $43,000 I ever paid. Do you not hear me? Mind you, I'm one of the type of person that know it all, for one. When I say know it all, meaning I'm like, okay, everybody in the room that was new to real estate, here I am at a young age, I already own a couple properties, right? So some of them, even when the instructor was talking, I was saying certain terms, I caught on where a lot of people was lost. I wasn't. So it would be like, well, why would you want to invest when you know you could take that money that you about to get ready to invest in, go buy real estate? That's what I was originally thinking. However, I invested into a mentor, and what I learned in 3 days would have took me the remainder of my life,
Wow.
and that's when my life changed. And me learning different strategies and having different resources that I have, I also learned that you can get not only get real estate, but you can also get credit where it's not attached to your social. You can also get real estate where it's not attached to you, and also learn that you also able to invest into real estate where and the reality of it is you ain't got to spend none of your money. So I got even more addicted to it, and that's what led me into investing into buying my block, doing creative strategies that led me into wanting more real estate, and knowing creative ways to do it, and that's how it started.
So let me backtrack just a little bit because early on you said that you started to you were modeling and then you just started I guess getting your funds together to actually purchase your property or the first property that you came where I think you said around 21. Was that your primary residence that you purchased at that time, or was that more so just your first
Yes,
girlfriend?
yes. I was a
Okay.
homeowner. I got my first house built from the bottom up. I was 21. I
Wow.
bought my first real estate investment property. I was about like 23.
Okay. So during the time that you were modeling, or if you did have the W-2 job, is that the time that you took your money to kind of save up and then say, okay, now I have this primary residence. Now I want to kind of invest in some more property. So how did you get the capital up during that time frame? Or is it from modeling or, your online businesses to kind of save
Yes,
purchase that first
yes.
property?
It was me juggling these business, and I've always been a type of person that understood debt. So I wasn't a big person that lived beyond my means, right?
Okay.
So I had some money available that I was investing because I told you at an early age I had, which now will be then people would have thought it was a business, but it really was a hobby, a tax business. So that was making good money.
Okay.
And like I said, I had good clients quit because I was able to communicate and teach them different strategies. Because most people, when they make 30, 40, $50,000 a year, they usually break even or they owe. So I was able to communicate with them on what they need to do during a year where they'll start getting a refund or definitely not on. So my clientele grew quick. And the close when the clientele grow, your business grow. And I was doing this part time. I'm talking about between the hours of 9 or 12, 9 at night to 12 o'clock in the morning. And my clients definitely understood me. They knew everything I got going on, but they really wanted me to do their taxes. And I can honestly say, even still then, probably maybe only 2 clients I don't have no more. But even since then, when I started out, when it was a hobby, they still with me. They tell me they'll kill me. They're like, sometimes they ask me, "Do you think about not doing it?" And I be like, "Of course." And they'll be like, "No, I don't care what you do. You need to do mine. I really trust you, and I'm glad to be able to work with you because in reality of it is you got a 9 to 5. This HR department, they don't explain to you nothing. People don't understand 401k. They don't understand stocks and bonds. And a lot of us, you work overtime, right? You order out on Friday, then you eating oodles and noodles Monday. Let's be real. So that's everybody's typical life. I get it that a lot of people wouldn't have that capital available. So that's why a person like you created this group to teach people on understanding wealth, where you can literally use $1 and turn it to two. So you got to get with the program, and that's why it's important for people to invite people into these type of groups so they can be aware of different strategies on what you can do to get ahead of life. But yes, to answer your question, it was my own resources at the time. I didn't know no better. It wasn't even in my name. I didn't know no better.
You hustled your way to actually to this capital, so you could take that capital in, which is considered active income, and then put it into an investment property. So that's
Yes.
yeah. So that's the takeaway. Whatever you're doing with your active income, take that active income and try to put that into a passive strategy. But now she also got into, she spent what, 40 some thousand, $43,000. So she invested into herself to actually be taken up to the next level, to kind of understand how she's able to go in without using her own money and without using her own credit, right? So that's also powerful. And you mentioned something too as well about going to school to be a real estate agent. I went to school in 2006 actually to be a real
Mm-hmm.
estate agent. And when I took the class, and I think we were maybe like 4 weeks into it, the instructor actually told us, they were like, if you're wanting to be an investor, you don't need this class because you're going to be, there's so many regulations that you're going to be liable for versus if you're being an investor. And so I was always intrigued by the investor side of things more so than the real estate agent side of things.
Yes.
And, and so no lie, I stopped going to real estate school because I was like, what you're saying, it doesn't line up with my goals. Not saying if anyone's on here, if you're an agent, power to you. That's your lane, dominate in it. But for
If
me,
we need you on our team,
we definitely really
you're part of the circle, but we just don't want to be an agent. But that was exactly me. I paid cash for that class too, because that was on a couple of $100. But and becoming a homeowner, you learn a lot in other process, honestly.
yeah.
But what I realized when taking a real estate class, I was going to get in a lot of trouble if I had them license. When you have license as an agent, you got to report a
You
lot
know,
of
for a
stuff.
lot of stuff. Yeah.
Not even
Yeah,
on that. Reminds you guys, I told y'all I already own some property, so that means I will consider a landlord is what the correct terminology was. And guess what? There was a lot of violation that would have been considered if I held a license that doesn't apply to me as a for sale by owner or someone that's representing themselves. So I
Absolutely.
knew then after I finished that course that I wasn't going to get certified for my license, but I did actually take the test. I just didn't go for my license. But no, I would have gotten in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
You, anything that you do, you can get a speeding ticket. You got to report it.
It's so many regulations. It is a lot of people don't know that, and also there are women on this live that don't even understand that you really don't have to have your license to get to get started
You
doing
don't.
real estate.
You
Um,
don't.
and for me, that's all I knew, and that was the only reason why I did go to real estate school, because I'm like, I never knew another entryway to get into real estate. No one actually told me or taught me how to come into real estate and make money with no money and no credit, right? So I want us to now talk about the nitty gritty, like how you can get into it and all of that. But I'm gonna show y'all right now. Y'all see my book? That's the same book I had from 2006.
Girl, and I still got my
Yeah.
book out there, too, that thick daggone book. And I'm like, no, that John is not gonna get you rich at all. But
Yeah.
yes, and I do all lines of real estate. So don't let me miss. I know we've been talking about me owning the blocks. I do fix and flips, and I do it all. So, and that's of course what led me into being able to buy the block. So
So take us to how someone can actually get started in real estate without actually using money and without using credit.
okay, so I'm going to actually break down the deal that I did because I know I kind of sped it up. I didn't know if you wanted me to go directly into the deal itself, which telling you about the deal is going to tell them how they can get into real estate.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Let's do
So let me give you guys the basics on real estate and how I actually was bought the block. So my dad gave me a call and he told me, he was like, asked me did I have some money, because, and I'm like, why is you asking me for some money? He's like, I got to buy this property because this man said he's willing to sell it to me for XYZ. I'm like, Dad, you ain't got no money. You better get that man give me the number. If he trying to sell that property that cheap, he might got some more. So me as an investor, mind you, my dad and them don't really know what I actually do. You know what I'm saying? They just know that, okay, they probably think, okay, she own a couple of real estate, but they don't know into the details. Like, listen, give me the property, because my daddy always try to tell me which property I should and couldn't get. I'm like, Dad, you don't even know what I'm getting a property for. Just do what I tell you to do. So it was this older man. God bless it. So I got the number from my dad after begging him for the number for like a month. My dad was like, I'm gonna bump back into him because I don't have his number, but I get it. So I gave the man a call and I said, hey, I understand that you want to sell, blah blah blah. So he was like, yes, I want to sell the property. He was actually going, I'll tell you the number. He wanted to sell the property to my dad for like $5,000. He said,
wow.
yes, your uncle been living inside of the property for some time. I would let him have the property. He had just got a hospital. He had a stroke, and he was like, I just wanting to be able to pay off what I got on the house. So I said, let me ask you this: is there any chance you got any more properties? He said, yes, I do. I got 17. I said, have you ever thought about considering them?
Wow.
So he was like, yeah, I had thought about it, but he was like, I'm going to probably get ready and get some things in order, and then I'm going to may consider selling it. I said, well, could I meet you? So I drove down there. It's about an hour and 45 minute drive from where I was from. I met him. He took me across all of these properties, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, somebody hit me up like a year ago, and they was interested in buying them. He said it's a good deal. He said, I can tell you, give you an idea about how much I want for them. Remind you guys that I really didn't have the money. I got the assets. It's a difference between having the assets and literally have the money. If you smart, you should not have a boatload of money inside your account. You're not making a smart decision. Your money need to be invested out. So I already knew that, like, okay, well, I don't know if I really want the properties, but I knew that I knew a creative way to make money off the properties, rather if I'm going to buy them or not. So one of the properties actually was on a whole, like all the properties was on a whole block. So I had told you 19 properties. So what I did was I sold off all of the properties. Mind you, I had him to write the contract into my business name. My business name then sold the property to other investors within the amount of, say, of 30 days. So I sold off the property higher than what he was willing to sell it for me for. And then it pays really off the balance on what he really wanted for the block. And then all I needed to do, I made myself a partner with my trust. So I didn't have to use any of my money while I was waiting to secure like two or three of the properties because all of the other properties were sold. I partnered with my trust. My trust owned that property right while I was waiting for it to close. My other properties, all I had to do, you guys, was swipe my business credit card, transfer the money to my credit card to my business account, and get a cashier check, and bam, I was the owner. Mind you, the price that he wanted for the house, I didn't have to bring it because I reduced my price by selling the other price by using the wholesaling method.
Okay, so
So
right.
that was creative financing. So I
Okay,
didn't use I had to pull my credit. I didn't you have to use any money. And remind you, I wind up still making $25,000 off the deal. I still got a $25,000 check. So I swiped my card to go ahead and cover the remaining expenses, but then I wound up selling off some more and still walked away with like $25,000.
wow. So take me through how that transaction looks. So you talked with the guy, you talked with the owner of the property. He said he has 17 properties, right? So you go to this owner and you say, okay, you figure out first how much all these properties are worth. I guess I'm assuming like the ARV on it, or
Well,
you
for
going by what he owes, or how did you determine?
Well, for me, he was the owner. I already knew I was going to negotiate him down anyway. This is from my hometown, so I already know properties ain't selling down there. And he
Okay,
mentioned that he may eventually put them in a newspaper and sell them off. And I'm like, no, I'll handle it for you. He said, I'm waiting on a guy because somebody was telling me at the carpenter store that it's this guy that buys property. And I said, he was like, I'm waiting on him to call me, then I'll let you know how much you want to sell it. I said, well, why make a deal with me right now? So I knew what he wanted for it was what I would consider too much, which really it was worth that amount. I'm an investor. I'm in the business to make money. So of
okay,
course I used my negotiation strategy and I got the property on a contract at my cost so I can have enough room. Either A, I would have to have enough money to buy these properties, or B, I had to have enough room to make money on these properties, or C, if another investor is going to take it over, they got to have enough room where it got to be equity in their properties too. So I negotiated with them and got it underneath contract.
okay. So did you? I guess is what I'm trying to understand. So once you got it under contract, because you didn't have the funds for it, right? So you got it under contract, and then you did it like a wholesale method to
Oh, I
a
definitely did a wholesale deal. He would have won. I think it was, if I remember this deal correctly, and I think I got a contract in here. I could probably pull it up. So don't quote me on this. But if I'm not mistaken, originally he wanted like $145,000.
okay.
Or yeah, I think he wanted like 145,000. And I want who got $145,000 just sitting in the account. I just told you guys, you not smart if you got $145,000 in your account. You can be worth $145,000, but why would you have that much money? Your money need to be invested in something. Your money's supposed to be making money for you. So he also wanted to close kind of quick because, mind you, I told you he was sick. He just got out of the hospital. He had a stroke. So I just do the wholesale method, and I knew I was going to do that the whole time. I used the wholesale method to reduce my price down by selling out the properties, which was only make just that little bit left for me to need to bring to the closing table, and that's what I did. And it wind up actually, I wind up having still making money because one of the properties he really just threw in there, and one of the property was a fire damage property, but it was a duplex.
Wow.
So I sold the duplex separate. I sold the other ones as a bundle. One property was extra, and then one of them was a duplex. And I kind of was moving slow on that one because I was kind of contemplating if I wanted to keep it myself. But I'm like, why would I keep it when I can? Well, it was better if I keep it because you ain't gonna buy no houses these cheap nowhere. So The price was just phenomenal anyway. So I was just going back and forth. Should I keep it? And I'm like, no, I want to wholesale it. And that's what I did. I sold it off to another investor.
Okay. So basically, guys, if you're on here, and I know some of you guys are clueless about what wholesaling is, and I see you guys' questions, so I'm gonna get to those. But wholesaling basically is you actually find a property or a distressed property or motivated seller, and you lock up that particular property. You have to know your numbers because when you're dealing with the seller, you want to make sure that you're getting a deal for the end buyer and enough so that you can actually take your middleman fee out of it. So with the wholesale process, you're basically locking up a property under contract, right? So you're taking this piece of paper, you're going to this seller with the agreed amount that you guys agreed upon, right? And then once you have that contract in place with the seller, then you determine what your middleman fee is going to be. So it's all about the numbers. And then you're going to present that particular deal, including your fee, to an end buyer. The end buyer is going to come in. He's going to be the one that's going to come in with the cash to the closing table. So essentially, you're just the middle person. You're hooking up the seller and the buyer, and you're
And you
taking
basically just you basically is transferring, you basically selling off contracts.
your
The banks do it all the time. When you go buy a house, you never went and bought a house or seen a bank bring a suitcase in there with cash. They send you an IOU, you moving around contracts. And that's
yeah,
what wholesaling is getting it on a contract and you selling it off the contract to somebody else.
exactly. So you
And
can figure
how
out
yeah, how you
the
simply do that is knowing how to run your numbers. And when I told him the amount of the numbers, he was like, well, you know, the house is worth blah, 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 blah. Because mind you, one of the houses, he took the insurance check, insurance quote with it or something. Because now if you don't have the property value, because if you in an area where a house is not just selling like that, there's no comparable value. You're going to use the method on how much the insurance will actually cover you for. So, of course, me as an investor, again, there's negotiation strategies and techniques that I learned over years. Mind you, guys, I'm 33 now. I've been doing this well over a decade. Even before I
yeah,
got a mentor, I was already into it over a decade. So, um, I basically did my strategy and got him to come down off of it even more.
okay.
And pretty much when you do that, you don't have to bring any of your money because the other person going to bring in the money and they're going to close the deal and you get your check.
And you get the check. Okay, so we have a question from Erica. Erica is asking, so you already had the trust. This is like I'm missing.
Yes,
So
and a
how
trust is a whole nother conversation and a whole nother life. Yes,
yeah,
and it's not complicated, and I can let you know what a trust is. A trust is, how they say trust fund babies. You can make your own self a trust from like your IRA account. If you're not familiar with an IRA is, that's retirement, and it's a different type of retirement from when you move from your 401k. So that's a whole nother live in process to go over on how you do that. But absolutely, you can even use other people money by using trust accounts. So other investors does that all the time, especially if you don't want to use, say if you're doing a fix and a flip, because there are some people on this live that may not be interested in the wholesale method. If you want to do a fix and a flip, or you might need 15% down, you can get that money from a trust account. And that's cash. And then you ain't even got to be able to pay those interest rates that they asking you to bring it. I do subject to deals all the time.
yeah. So we're gonna have to get you back on, different parts of the investing because I don't want to confuse everybody with
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be more. We're gonna talk more into the advanced strategies in real estate.
Wholesale. How you can invest with no credit and no money.
Right.
Yes.
And another question was the 145,000. How many properties was that for?
There was 18 properties altogether. It was 19 properties, but one property was excluded. It was sold separate.
So 18 properties.
Yes.
Okay. Another question is, how do you know how much you need to get?
They need to probably re-ask that question. I'm thinking they want to know how much you need to get for us in on the property. That's you're gonna need to get know what she said, run the comps, knowing how much the property is worth. And like she said, you need to know how much money you're trying to make and make sure it makes sense to the end buyer. But if we didn't answer your question, re-ask it.
Yeah, please re-ask it. Someone else said, did you say you then turn around and purchase a 17 with your trust?
No, let me clarify what happened with the trust, you guys. Okay. So remind you guys, I told y'all I still made $25,000 on the property. So what is wholesale? You remember we told you guys wholesale is about getting a property underneath a contract. We then sell the contract over to another investor, right? Mind you, you got a certain time frame. Just like any other contract, it's going to have terms. Most terms going to say that you need to you're going to be able to close this property within 30 days. Of course, you can ask for an extension if you need an extension, but in reality of it is you're going to already have a buyer's list. When you talk how to wholesale, you're going to already have this stuff in line. So if you new to this, of course it's going to be like wow, but however you are trained on what you need to do and all that stuff is already in place. So you're going to already know that you need to know, have the number here to make sense to another investor. It's all about numbers. If someone say I want $200,000 on my property, but the property is only worth 180, you're going to negotiate with them. If the property is worth 180, but it got damaged, if it need a roof, if it needs a back porch, if it need painting, you're going to deduct that from the value. You're going to have to keep bringing that number down because, again, it got to make sense. You as an investor, an investor's in a business to make money, not lose money. So you're going to go to the seller and you're going to make sense to them on why you want to purchase to the property at that price. They're either going to say yes, they're going to say no. That's the purpose of doing negotiation. So what I mean about the trust account. You remember I told you guys I originally purchased the property. I did use the wholesale method, meaning I sold off all the properties that I didn't want, except for all the properties that just was on this block to reduce my amount what I wanted to bring to the closing table, right? However, you remember I told you there was one property that wasn't well actually yeah there was one property that wasn't included, that was actually separate. I actually bought that property with my trust, which is completely separate from doing a wholesale method, really, from the block. It's just that in the package deal, I use my trust account, meaning still not using my credit and really still not using any of my personal money, because the trust account, your trust can own the house and you don't have to use any of it, and it's still making your trust, your retirement money grow bigger, 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 and bigger. So then a week later, sells off that property, which then bring in more money back to my trust. So that's what I meant by trust, because there are different methods that you got to know on how to build a lot of wealth. And one of the wealth is understanding the different types of plan that you can invest in, such as being a private lender, being an angel investor. You can be an investor even by your retirement money. So if you guys ain't aware of that, you absolutely can be your own bank.
Absolutely.
There's people come up, you can own an LLC with your own retirement money.
Yep.
So you wouldn't know that if you were never taught that. And of course, that's why I paid someone $43,000 to teach me that.
So let me ask you a question. Okay, so it was 18 properties. How many of those properties did you wholesale?
Altogether, it's really on the block is really only what 9 properties. So all the other ones I wholesale.
Okay, so you kept 9 for yourself, and then you had the other 9 that was wholesale. So do you guys understand that? So it was a total of 18 properties, right? And if I'm understanding you correctly, you took some of those properties and did the wholesale method so that you could actually get money from those properties to kind of reduce the amount that you had to bring to the table for the 9 that you wanted to keep.
Yes, let me break this down more English terms for you guys, okay? So remind you, I told you guys the round amount is 145. The amount that I brought to the table was $30,000, meaning I swiped my credit card for $30,000 using business credit that's not attached to my social, and it's the same as cash. So what that mean is I hold, if the men wanted the properties for 145, that means I sold the property that much more minus the 30, and the difference was how it's paid by the other end buyers.
Did y'all get that? Because that was smart.